Elementarays. All right, today we are going to be learning about greatest common factors. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to tell me, how do you find a greatest common factor? Well, first we need to know, what is a common factor, or what is a greatest common factor? So a common factor is a factor that two or more numbers share. They have it in common. That's where the word common comes from. They're sharing it. A greatest common factor is the biggest number, or the one with the greatest value, that two or more numbers share. So a greatest common factor is also known as a GCF for short, because remember, mathematicians are lazy and we don't like to do more work than we have to. It's a greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor is a factor that has the biggest value and is shared by two or more numbers. Whew, that was a big definition right there. Okay, so that's a big definition. We're going to look at the greatest common factor, also known as the GCF. We know what's most important here is that it's the biggest value of two or more numbers. It's what they share. Let's underline shared as well, because that's super important. Okay, now let's talk about, what does this mean? We're going to build on our lesson from yesterday when we were looking at factor pairs. Okay, so we talked about factor pairs a lot yesterday when we were working on, or not yesterday, but in our last lesson, when we were looking at prime factors and looking at the pairs that go to make up the numbers. So 2 and 2 are the factors that make up 4. We had 48 as our practice there, and we went through and found what was the factor pairs that made up 48. So what we're going to do is, it's going to ask a question that says something like, find the GCF, greatest common factor, of 24 and 40. Our job is to find the greatest common factor of those two numbers. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start out by looking at the number 24. Okay, and we're going to talk about all the factor pairs of 24. So I know 1 times 24 gives me 24. I also know that 2 times 12 gives me 24. I know that 3 and 8, because 3 times 8 is 24. And then I also know that 4 times 6 is 24. 5 is not a factor of 24. So we would not worry about the number 5. I would go back again to 6, but we've already listed it, so we don't need to list it again. These are the factors that equal 24. You could even turn the colon into an equal sign if that will help you. Okay, now we're going to look at the number 40. Okay, 40 is our next factor that we are looking at working with. Our next number. We're looking at the number 40. Okay, so what are the factors of 40? Well, 1 and 40 are the numbers there. We have 2 times 20. That's a factor. 3, no, 3 doesn't go into 40, but 4 does. 4 times 10, that equals 40. What about 5? Yep, 5 and 8. 5 times 8, and 9 doesn't work. 6, no, 6 doesn't. 7 and 6 is 42. So those are the numbers. Okay, so we've found the factors and the list of factors that make up 24 and 40. So now our job is to circle the ones that they have in common. So we're going to circle the ones that they have in common. So they both have a 1. They both have a 2. They do not have a 3. But they do have a 4, not a 5, nope, not a 6. They have an 8 in common. They do not have a 10 or a 12. Nope, no more matches. So the greatest common factor that they have is 8. It's the biggest factor that they both share. So the GCF for this, or the greatest common factor of 24 and 40, is 8. That is the greatest common factor. Okay, let's do another example, and then I will give you your try it. Okay, so our next example is asking us to find the greatest common factor of 36 and 54. So example B says find the GCF of 36 and 54. All right, so our first job is to again start with 36, and we're going to list everything that equals 36. Okay, so we're just going to take 36 and we're going to say 1 times 36. That equals 36. 2 times 18 equals 36. And what else do we have? 3. Does 3 go in? You can just keep doing your work out to the side if you don't know what the if you don't know if it's a factor. You just keep checking out to the side. So we know that 3 and 12 will give us 36 because 3 times 2 is 6, and that's 3. And then 4 and 9, right? 4 and 9. 5, no, because 5 times 6 is 30, and 5 times 7 is 35, so that's not going to work. And then 6, and 6 times 6 is 36, but you only have to write the number once. Don't write it twice. Okay, so these are all of the factors that make up the number 36. Okay, our next number we're looking at is 54. So 54 is the next one that we're looking at. And we have 1 and 54, of course. 2 times 7, so 27, because that's 14. So 27. And 3 times 18. And then we have 6 and 9. and 7 doesn't go in, and 8 doesn't go in, and then we're back to 9 again. So these are the factors. Okay, now let's check out and start circling the ones they have in common. 1, 2, 3. They do not have a 4. They do have a 6. They have a 9. That's bigger than that one. Ooh, and look, 18. 36, 27, 54. Nothing else matches. Okay, the greatest thing that they have in common, the biggest number they have, is 18. So the GCF, the greatest factor that the two share, is 18. Okay, it is time for you to do a try it. So we are going to have you do a try it, and then we will go on from there. Okay, your try it is to find the GCF of 8. So find the GCF of 8 and 36. All right, so find the GCF of 8 and 36. Go ahead and hit pause right now so that you don't hear me solving this, and then come back when you are ready. All right, so 8 is 1 and 8. 2 times 4, and that's it. That's a small one. Oh my gosh, that's tiny. Okay, and our next one is 36. Let me change my color here. We have 1 and 36. And look, we already did that one up here. 2 and 18. 3 and 12. And then 4 and 9 and 6 times 6. Okay, guys, I saw it right away. Did you see it right away when you said it? If so, you can go ahead and circle it. 4 is the greatest common factor of both of these numbers. All right, how did you do on this try it? How did you do?